Welcome back to your SST class. Today we are going to start with the second chapter of civics, that is parliamentary form of government. Now before moving on to the chapter, I want to give you an idea about the different forms of government. What are the different forms of government? There are usually two forms of government. One is the presidential form of government, the other is parliamentary form of government. What is the presidential form of government? In presidential form of government, the president is the real head and the prime minister is the nominal head. Or in other words, you can also say that president is the real executive and prime minister is the nominal executive. And in a parliamentary form of government, the PM or the prime minister is the real head and the president is the nominal head. Things are exactly opposite in case of parliamentary form of government. Now, I would tell you what is a nominal executive or a nominal head and what is a real head or a real executive. Okay. What is a nominal executive? The nominal executive is the head of the executives. Okay, or you can also say he or she is the ultimate head of the group of executives. But in case of a nominal head or in case of a nominal executive, in spite of being the ultimate head of the executives, he or she does not have enough power to participate in the decisions of the government. Okay, he or she does not have enough power to participate in the decisions of the government. Whereas in case of a real executive, he or she is not the ultimate head of the government. What did I say? Please remember that he or she is not the ultimate head of the government. But in spite being not the ultimate head of the executive, he or she he or she has the power to participate in the decision making process of the government. Okay. Now, earlier I told you about presidential form of government and parliamentary form of government. Now, what is the example of a presidential form of government? USA. USA is a country, okay, where president is being highlighted everywhere. Okay, you ask yourself, you might not know the name of the Prime Minister of USA, but yes, you definitely know the name of the President of USA. Okay, now what is the example of a parliamentary form of government? India. Okay, your own country is the example of a parliamentary form of government. Okay, now we will move on directly to the chapter, that is parliamentary form of government. Okay, now students, tell me, what is a parliament? The word parliament has been derived from a French word, that is parlor. Now, what does parliament means? Parliament means a place where people sit together and discuss important matters or issue. And it is quite natural because in a country like India, where we have a parliamentary form of government, in the parliament, usually the minister, they sit together and they discuss important matters and issues related to the laws of our country. Now, we are going to study about the Indian Parliament. Now, there are two houses of the Indian Parliament or the Union Parliament, you can say. What are the two houses of the Union Parliament? First is the Rajya Sabha or the upper house and second is the Lok Sabha or the lower house. Okay. Now, at first we will study about the Rajya Sabha or the upper house of the parliament. Okay. Now, how many members are there in Rajya Sabha? There are 250 members in the Rajya Sabha, and among those 250 members, 238 members are elected by the process of proportional representation. And what about the other 12 members? The other 12 members are nominated by the president from among the people who have achieved excellence in the field of art, science and literature. Or in other words, you can also say that those 12 members are basically scholars and they are nominated by the president. Okay. Now, what about the term of the Rajya Sabha? Now, Rajya Sabha does not have any specific term. It is a quasi-permanent house. What did I say? Rajya Sabha is a quasi-permanent house. 1/3 of its member retires after every 2 years and the term of individual members of the Rajya Sabha is a 6 year. I am repeating it once again, that is 1/3 of the members in Rajya Sabha retires after every 2 years and the term of every individual member of Rajya Sabha is a 6 years, or in other words, you can also say that Rajya Sabha is a quasi-permanent house. Now, what about the qualification of the members of Rajya Sabha? For being a member of Rajya Sabha, a person has to be a citizen of India. That is the first and foremost criteria. Okay. Second is, he or she should be of the age of 30 years, or you can also say that he or she should not be less than 30 years of age. Okay. They should not be an undischarged insolvent. Okay. They should not hold any office or profit under any governmental agency. Okay. And they should also possess a sound mind. Okay. Now, what about the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha? The Vice President of India is the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha. Listen to me, children, very carefully, that the Vice President of India is the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha. Okay, he is solely responsible for maintaining discipline and order at the floor of the house. Okay, now we will move on to the other house of the parliament, that is the Lok Sabha or the lower house of the parliament. Now, see children, the Lok Sabha or the lower house of the parliament is also called the house of people. What is it also called? It is also called the house of people. Now, why is it called the house of people? It is called house of people because the members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by us. Okay, it is directly elected by us by the process of universal adult franchise, that is through secret voting system. Okay, they are elected directly by us. Okay, now what about the members of Lok Sabha? There are 552 members in the Lok Sabha. There are 552 members in the Lok Sabha. Okay, and out of those 552 members, okay, 2 to 3 members are nominated by the president from the Anglo-Indian community. What did I say? Among these 552 members, 2 to 3 members are nominated by the president from the Anglo-Indian community. Okay. And the number of representatives in the Lok Sabha from each state exactly depends upon the population of that particular state. Okay. Now, what is the term of Lok Sabha? The term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. What is the term of the Lok Sabha? They have a specific term of 5 years. They all gets elected together and they all gets removed from their office also together. Okay, but after 5 years they again can get re-elected if the political party is working appropriately, if the political party is working for the benefit of the people, then it's quite obvious that people is again going to re-elect that political party and the member and those people are again going to be the member of the parliament. Okay, now do you know children that the leader of the majority party or the leader, in other words you can also say that the leader of the ruling party in the Lok Sabha is known as the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, he himself is a member of Lok Sabha. Okay, and he is the leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha. Now, what about the Speaker of the Lok Sabha? Okay, the Speaker is the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha, or you can also say that the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha is the Speaker. Okay, he is also solely responsible for maintaining law and order at the floor of the Lok Sabha or at the floor of the lower house of the Parliament. Now children, I am going to tell you about the powers and functions of the Union Parliament. But before moving on directly to the powers and functions of the Union Parliament, let me clear one thing to you. See children, exactly as you have different organs in your body which performs different specific functions, similarly our government also has several wings or several organs. Okay, usually 3 organs are there in our government. What are the 3 organs? The legislature, the executive and the judiciary. Okay, now what is the task of the legislature? The legislature does the task of formulating policies or making laws. What about the executive? The executive implements those laws that were made by the legislature. Now what about the judiciary? The judiciary has been kept separate from the other 2 organs of the government in a country like India. Okay, so that it remains neutral and unbiased. So what task does the judiciary do? The judiciary justifies the law. It looks into the matter whether the laws that has been formulated by the legislature and the executive are for public benefit or not. Okay, or you can also say it is a law reviewing body. Okay, now we will move on to the powers and functions of the Union Parliament. Now children, let me say you one very important thing, That is, whatever laws are being made by the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, those all are made according to the subjects mentioned in the union list. Is that clear? Now, at first we will talk about the legislative power of the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Now, when we talk about the legislative power, we basically think about the ordinary laws. Okay. Now, these ordinary laws can originate in either of the house of the parliament. Okay. Or you can also say this ordinary law or bill. Okay. They can originate in any of the house of the parliament. If they originates in the Rajya Sabha, after being passed from the Rajya Sabha, it goes to the Lok Sabha. And after it is passed from the Lok Sabha, it goes to the President. The President gives a signature and it becomes an act. Okay. And if it is passed in the Lok Sabha, then after being passed from the Lok Sabha, it goes to the other house of the parliament. And if it is passed from the Rajya Sabha too, then it goes to the President again, and the President gives a signature or accent and it becomes an act. Is that clear? Now we are going to discuss about the money bill or about the financial power of the parliament. Always remember, children, that a money bill always originates in the Lok Sabha or in the lower house of the parliament. So what about the Rajya Sabha? Rajya Sabha can only delay that money bill for 14 days. After the bill is passed from the Lok Sabha, it goes to the Rajya Sabha. Obviously, Rajya Sabha can suggest certain recommendation and send the bill back to the Lok Sabha. But it depends entirely upon the Lok Sabha whether to accept that recommendation or not. Okay, but a budget session or a money bill, everything is being held in the Lok Sabha. Okay, Rajya Sabha only exercises a delaying power of 14 days. Okay, now about the executive powers of the parliament. In case of the executive powers of the parliament, I told you earlier also that Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers, who are the executive or who are the real executives, they themselves are the member of the legislature or they themselves are the member of Lok Sabha. Not only that, the executive, that is Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers, they are collectively as well as individually responsible to the legislature. In case they fail to satisfy the requirement of the legislature may pass a vote of no confidence motion. And what would happen if a no confidence motion is passed? If a vote of no confidence motion is passed against the executive, the entire ministry along with the Prime Minister will have to resign from their office. Okay, so that's all for today. I will discuss about the other powers, that is judicial power, constitutional power, in my next video. Till then, have a nice day.